I got my diabetes diagnosis 7 years ago. It's been a lot to adjust to, and I'm still learning all I can about managing my chronic condition and helping others to do the same. One thing that has been really hard for me is dealing with food stigma. Whenever I want to eat something deemed unhealthy or high in carbohydrates, I feel like people are judging me, and typically they are. Even my dietitian, upon diagnosis, seemed surprised when I told her I wanted to continue eating some of my favorite cultural foods like cassava, beef patties, rice and peas, and curried goat. I never felt like I got good guidance in eating those foods. I was always just told that those were things I should avoid completely to successfully manage my blood sugars. It's frustrating trying to navigate food after a diabetes diagnosis, but I've always been determined to not let diabetes steal the joy that comes with cooking and eating. Eating should be enjoyable, and I refuse to feel guilty about enjoying the foods that I love. If you're struggling with food stigma too, know that you're not alone. Despite the proliferation of new and exciting sources of nutrition that can be beneficial for people with diabetes, many culinary cultures still assume that a person with diabetes needs to forego cultural foods, in some cases, a primary source of comfort in our lives. However, this assumption isn't based upon any scientific evidence, really only extreme caution. In fact, with correct dietary precautions and balance, people living with diabetes should still be able to indulge in our cultural favorites without compromising our health or well-being. It just takes a little more planning and paying attention. Food is intrinsic to our lives. It represents culture and identity, is a communal gathering point, and helps shape our daily rhythms. Unfortunately, there are those who demean or use derogatory language against others because of their food preferences or cultural beliefs as it relates to diabetes. This type of discrimination causes feelings of shame and embarrassment, which perpetuates stigma and reinforces unhealthy habits that keep individuals from managing their diabetes effectively. It's essential that we acknowledge this type of prejudice exists so that people with diabetes can feel safe eating the foods they love without fear, judgment, or condemnation. There are lots of examples of how food stigma shows up. Say you're at a party with friends and decide to peruse the dessert table. As you're looking, someone walks by and asks, "Can you eat that?" While the question may seem innocent, it directly casts judgment on the person with diabetes and implies that they aren't aware of how to take care of themselves. This can lead to feelings of shame, self-deprecation, and isolation. Assuming that foods from ethnic communities aren't as healthy as a kale smoothie or acai smoothie bowl. Cultural food has its place in a healthy and balanced diet. I've also experienced food stigma. When I post a YouTube video about a recipe that I like to eat, oftentimes I can get comments that are derogatory or that make me feel as if I shouldn't enjoy the food that I have, as if I should only have kale on my plate to manage diabetes. Another way that food stigma has shown up for me is after my diagnosis, I noticed that instead of offering me traditional foods, many people assumed because I had diabetes, I could only eat salads and other healthy options. People might pass plates around me at gatherings or make small comments as an aside about how I put my plate together. In some ways, this made normal social events feel unwelcoming, and it seemed like my illness was something to be ashamed of, or that I had to put food on my plate that I didn't enjoy just to please others and get them to stop asking questions. Over time, I've had to learn how to advocate for myself and find different ways to address my questions about why I may not be able to enjoy certain foods due to my health condition, or why I can enjoy certain foods even despite my health condition. With the support of those around me, I've been able to enjoy my favorite meals and also balance a healthy lifestyle. I've also come to terms with how food stigma has impacted my life and recognize that it's important for us all to be more aware of our words and assumptions when talking about food. We can create a safe environment for people who are dealing with food stigma and make sure that we're conscious of how we approach those situations. Dealing with the stigma surrounding certain food choices can be challenging and disheartening, especially for those living with diabetes. As someone who experiences food stigma often, I can tell you that it's important to remember that your worth isn't defined by the food that you eat. There are many ways to take care of your health without giving in to societal expectations, And health isn't just about food. If you feel safe doing so, try to reach out for help and talk about your feelings with a friend or trusted healthcare provider if you're feeling down about food shame and food stigma. If you're an ally to someone facing food stigma, one of the most helpful things you can do is to listen non-judgmentally and support your loved one's choices. Let them know they have unwavering support from you in following a path that works best for their needs, even if it differs from societal norms. Encourage open dialogue about food and diabetes in order to break down the barriers that stigma creates. People who have diabetes are often shut off from participating in cultural foods, which can create feelings of marginalization and defeat. However, an open dialogue between people with diabetes, as well as healthcare providers and other members of their community, can help eliminate food stigma surrounding diabetes and increase acceptance of eating cultural foods. By taking the time to understand each other's perspectives, we can bridge gaps and create a more inclusive and understanding space for everyone. Breaking down these barriers is the first step in the journey to true inclusion and healthier society for us all. Plus, coming from a mindset of abundance rather than deficit can help people with diabetes find more joy on our plates. So, not talking about all of the things that we can't have, but really focusing in on what we can do and what's going to be fulfilling. Though it can be difficult to talk about, food stigma is an important issue that needs to be addressed. By sharing our stories and experiences with others, we can help break down the barriers that food stigma creates. If you're struggling with food stigma, know you're not alone. There's a community of people who understand what you're going through and are here to support you. And if you want to be an ally to those experiencing food stigma, start by listening and having an open dialogue about this sensitive topic. That's it for this video. Make sure that you tune in to my other stigma series videos. They're really important topics, especially for people of color, and I hope that they can start valuable conversations about diabetes stigma and topics surrounding stigma. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.